Hello there, folks. This is Canavan from the Referee Forum, joined by Nathan Sherritt and Martin Cassidy from the Third Team and Ref Support UK, respectively, and welcome to episode 31 of the Final Whistle podcast. We are days away from the Euros final. Let's talk about the tournament in general, because wow, haven't the referees been brilliant? It's refreshing as well that objectively as referees we can watch them and say, fair play, gents. 99.9% of the refereeing has been absolutely spot on. But that's also been echoed on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, by everyone saying, actually, yeah, the referees have been really good. There's been the odd tweet here and there that has been a little bit critical of referees, and we will touch upon that. But all in all, hasn't the refereeing standard and the positivity attached to it, hasn't that been really, really refreshing? And wouldn't it be great if we could take that into the domestic season, which starts in just a few weeks' time? Gents, thoughts on that one?
I completely agree with everything you say. And I think that if we think right back to the very start of the tournament, we saw a horrific incident with Christian Eriksen, and we had obviously Anthony Taylor refereeing that game, and he got tremendous credit, rightly so, for a 3-second reaction to that incident. And I think that just goes to show the alertness, how switched on he was to everything that's going on in the game, even that sort of non-footballing thing, his fitness and everything to, get over there to sort that all out. And I just think that, it's been even things like that have really shown, you talk about the implementation of VAR, you can talk about application of law, you can talk about positioning, you can talk about absolutely everything from a technical refereeing perspective. But let's not forget this little sort of bit here that actually is really important to remember, because it's probably the difference between life and death when you have that quick reaction. And I'm not going to be critical of referees here, but I did see a head injury which resulted in a broken nose in a game shortly afterwards, and the referee didn't react as quickly. And if it had been a more serious incident, there could have been more ramifications that could have come down on the referee. So I think that particularly Taylor's reaction there was probably a really good one. And probably, I'm not saying that one thing can make a difference or another, but I think it certainly would have massively helped his case to be the final referee had England not made it to the final.
Yeah, there's been nothing about Michael Oliver. I don't even think people think Michael Oliver went. The games he's done, nothing's been mentioned about them. Which is
a great thing, though. It's a great thing, Martin.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Only mentioned Anthony Taylor because he was so brilliant in how he reacted to a really scary situation. Yeah. So to me, that tells it all. But what really winds me up is you've got the regular ref haters who were all sitting there because they all got binned from the PGMOL, and the answer to every problem with Premier League referees, and you know what we're talking about, is that, they need better coaches, and I'm the coach you need. Really? And what they've done, the referees are being brilliant. But when the Premier League season starts, we're all going to be shite again. It's like, just embrace the positivity. Use the positivity to create more positivity, not to batter Premier League referees, and try to create an environment that then, as we come to the season, the first thing there's something to do, they were brilliant in the Euros, but the first week of the season, our referees are shite. I just want it to change, and I just think until we start addressing these people who are constantly baiting referees, including pundits, who just think it's the default setting to go with it. But we know we're banging a drum on that. But one of the things that what's been a real education from our point of view on our page, on the Ref Support page, was talking about when you get your cards out, don't see another colour apart from the cards you're given. And particularly in the semi-final of the Euros, the referee obviously keeps his cards in a booklet, pulls his booklet out, and the first thing you see is a red. I had 2 heart attacks. Happened twice. Thought he was going to send off, and then he gets out a yellow. So at every level of the game, we often talk about don't watch the top 5 levels because a lot of that stuff is miles away what was work at grassroots, particularly with positioning, because they've got linos and headsets and puzzle flags. But one of the things I would say would be good to discuss, because we've got lots of legs on our page, is what you do with your red and yellow cards, where to keep them, how to use them, how to get them out. And just be mindful that when you're going to get a card out, that they don't see another card. If you're going to give a red and you get your booklet out, it's a yellow, and you see a yellow in the booklet, and then he gets his red out and does it. If you're surrounded by a group of players, it looks like you've been coerced to go from a yellow to a red. And equally, if it's the other way around, if it's a red, you see, and you go for a yellow, and they're just surrounded by players, it could look like you're being talked out, not sending them off and giving a yellow. So there's a lot of thinking to it. And I'd like your take on it, boys, what you think.
I'm surprised that referees at that level are still using books at all. Up until very recently, I was still using a book and it had a red and yellow card in it. But I wouldn't use those red and yellow cards. The book literally only came out after a card had come out anyway. So the reason I don't use a book anymore is because I use Ref 6 almost exclusively now. And this is where I'm surprised that FIFA or UEFA or the very top refereeing institutions don't have their own app that is linked to the fourth official, to the VAR, to everything, so that the referee on his or her smartwatch can't just tap in a few things and everything is recorded in that moment. And yet you've still got your yellow and red cards for communication. Personally, now I keep my yellow card in my pocket, in my shorts, and the red card completely separate in the top shirt pocket. And
I always think that's an awkward position, and honestly, I always think it's an awkward position, because I think it must have been the guy, Danny McKaylee, was doing the semi-final for England, where he had the book, and it looks very. Although I actually do keep my book in the top pocket, I do it in a different way, because obviously I have a thinner book. But I think that when you need to do the fast system that they're doing, which obviously is recorded with the fourth official and everything, it looks more clunky. Whereas I always think when I'm not using my book and I have got what you say, like there, you've already got it on the watch, I just go with the back pocket.
So I think the back pocket's clunky. If I'm like, and I've seen other refs struggle with this as well. If you're clunking around in your arse pocket, struggling to pull out a card, it's again similar things.
I suppose there's always preference.
Yeah. There's always going to be
see what the viewers think of this as well.
Yeah,
and that's the reason I wanted to discuss it. I got lots of traction on our page, and everyone's going. One particular book was saying, "Oh, just be yourself. Just do what's good, comfortable for you." Well, we talked about this a lot on this podcast, and I know we're going to do a podcast on the referee's toolbox that we've talked about over previous episodes. It's just another tool in your box. Just have a think about it. And when we throw things out, it isn't because, I've sat there and watched a game and thought, sweet and posts. It's because I've seen over time where that's gone wrong for referees. And that's the reason I want to sort of bring it into a toolbox. It does look like if you get your book out and you see a red first and then you go yellow underneath it, that impression is not the best impression you could give. So try to give the best impression. If it works for you, having a book with cards in and you want to get away with seeing a red, brilliant. It might never ever affect you, but just be aware that it could. And it's these discussions in all the toolbox that we create. Just have a think about it. And particularly on telly, like you said, so you should be not doing something else by that level. But we all have superstitions. He could be superstitious. It could be the first book he ever had when he got to. So there's going to be a lot more to it. But when we try to reflect about learnings and looking at the bigger picture, then that's a good example of it. I always, for years, I've refereed for ages because of my injury. Always had masking tape on the back of my cars for cars and a book for scores if I had to do scores. Now, in the latter stages of my career, I didn't even keep score. Never. Didn't have to. When someone scores, one of the linos did it. Because, find out, it's all over Twitter anyway if you want to check on it. But it's to me, I just think have your book just for keeping it, get your cards out for when you need to get your cards out. And one of the things that I'd always coach referees is that you have red and yellow, it's a very quick double yellow. You have red normally in the back pocket, but we can discuss that in a minute, and a yellow in your right. Some people, if you're different, use a different hand and use a different hand.
Yeah.
there's lots into it. And it's typical of refereeing, isn't it? Where people are good reporting and talking about all your yellow cards, but it's a big thing for a referee, isn't it?
And it's also a very personal thing for each referee. So that when you say, "Oh, don't do that with your book," that's almost saying to the referee that does do it that way, you're doing it wrong. So they get defensive straight away instead of being open-minded to it and being like, "Okay, I hear what you're saying. I understand the reasons behind it, and then here's my counterpoint." But when you say, and again, it's something that each referee develops over usually a long period of time about what works for them. So when you come in with say guidance and it's counter to what that referee does already, the first thing a referee does, and I've done it before when I've taken on advice, is that wall goes up straight away going, no, this works for me. Don't give me unsolicited advice. This is what I like doing and it works for me. But there's, people need to understand that there's reasons why the guidance and the advice is there in the first place. And it's down to individual referees if they want to listen to that or not. Maybe it'll improve them. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll get them up the levels quicker. Maybe it won't. But the important thing is, I think, is to listen to the advice and listen to guidance of other referees, more experienced referees, of coaches, and not just dismiss it, especially on social media, where people's default reaction already is to be like, fuck off, don't criticize me, so I think
a lot of people saying, "Oh, being referee, not
yeah, exactly."
And I've never done any other way. That's what I do. That's why I've always been a level 7. Because you're not listening to other people, and I think that's obviously having a dig at a certain individual who won't listen. But I think just listen to everybody, even the people you don't like. People who don't like us, have a listen to us. You might just have a little nugget for you. Equally, there's people who I really have got no respect for, who's held my referee key because they've given me a little bit of a golden nugget that I thought, yeah, that's right, that I'll have that. And now we're going more down this who's ref 6. My jury's always been out on ref 6. I really have, because doing too much of this just to me doesn't seem right. I'm having something.
It makes it much easier, Martin. I've got honestly, I'm fully with Ant on this. Honestly, it's so much easier, particularly if you're somebody like me who doesn't handwrite very well. When I don't do games with ref 6, I'll hold my hands up and be honest. Sometimes I'm thinking, bloody hell, I hope that on the online system his name comes up like that.
You're refereeing some Polish fella and he comes out with his massive last name. You're like, well, it's a warning this time, but next time you're in the book.
Mind you, there are very, very long English names as well as Polish, don't forget.
Well, yeah, there are. Cassidy.
But I think going back to the ref 6 idea of it is that it's a generation thing, isn't it? And I'm sure like your age will be made up with it. All I'm saying, I think it's a very impressive piece of kit. I'm not against it in any way, shape or form. Just jury's out on it, because it's just, to me, having just number 6 done smoother. If you make a mistake, you're going back, and it just, to me, it's another toolbox thing. You stick it in a toolbox. If you think it works for you, then happy days, brilliant. But I'm just not comfortable with it. Is that being a default setting? Everyone's saying everyone should use F6. And I just think the right second.
No, I don't think anybody is.
Yeah, that's all that worries me a little bit about it, because we often and it's an added, it's not free. You got to pay for it.
Oh,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Which, from a charity point of view, but why do something that's
We'll edit that bit out.
I just had a delivery come through the window, and that's why I moved it. So it's like someone's just dropped something off. Couldn't believe what I see through this window. I've lost my total train of thought here. But I just think that having your toolbox, but as a charity, why to do your game, it should not be more expensive to record a game just because someone's created an app. If that was free, I'd probably have a very different view on it. Because how much is it a month, is it?
£5
a month. It's mad, isn't it? People are moaning about like £20 registration fee and stuff like that. Or they'll pay 60 quid a year for that. I mean, I just think that's a really take on it. I think great bit of kit, but I just think maybe I'm old school. My black whistle, maybe I'm writing the back of yellow cards. I just get it, but I see this sort of shift going towards it, which I don't think it's fair on people who can't afford it. I just can't. And isn't it different levels as well? If you have a premier, a different. Do you know what I mean? There's all.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure that we should be doing, increasing the cost of refereeing at junior level. Coming through and getting into the game. I just think,
Like, I'm not entirely sure, but I don't know if there's a free version or a cheaper version that doesn't have things like heat map and GPS tracking and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not overly familiar with it, but I've only been using it a few months. It's one of those things that I think it's in its infancy, and over time it will progress. Things will get more streamlined and slicker. But in terms of like improving, does it improve you as a referee? No, it doesn't. Does it make things quicker and easier? Probably after the game, and also to look back and actually think how much did I run? Did I sprint enough? What was my movement around the pitch? It's those added features that if you are interested in developing as a referee, those are the things that can really help you. And you could come off a pitch thinking that you've done 8-10 kilometers, and actually you've probably done 5 or 6. You can't fake that stuff on the watch. So it's a
lot of people though might not be interested in that.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you want to use those tools and develop and be self-critical and analytical of yourself, then it's, you're not going to get observed every single game, but you will get tracked every single game. And if your movement's not good and stuff like that, it'll let you know.
I've got to say this as well, right? This is where you can absolutely batter an observer. And I don't mean that in a negative way, by the way. I just mean that if an observer is trying to tell you a load of rubbish, which can happen, about you haven't covered enough ground or you haven't sprinted, well, the data's there and the data doesn't lie. So if you want to appeal an observation, this is a great tool to use to say.
I'm sorry, I find that so funny.
It's true. It's completely true.
I just find that so funny. No, not. Just the idea. Imagine going to your county FA. That's 69 I got off Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, you wish.
Just imagine people will go, oh, actually, yeah. Oh, yeah, we'll change it to an 81. And it just...
No, but what I'm talking about is when they talk about your movement.
If you get pulled up on your fitness and you can say... Yeah.
But then again, on fitness, we're giving Ref 6 a bit of a bloody advertisement here, aren't we? That's a good one.
I know, yeah.
I mean, actually, why is it called Ref 6 and not Ref 7? Is it going to be a Ref 8? Why Ref 6? What's it called? Why is it called Ref 6? Well, anyone know?
You'll have to ask them.
To use the product. Why is it called Ref 6?
Ref 1 through 5 was taken on Twitter.
Ref 6. To me, was Ref 7 going to be? I just think going back to what we were talking about as card techniques and recording the game. I just think that just doesn't look as good as doing something on a card. I don't know. Maybe.
But what would you prefer? What would you prefer? Pulling out a book with a red and yellow card, or tapping on a watch? I know.
On a watch, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and please don't think I'm against F6 because I'm not. I'm against people just doing it one way. Put it in the toolbox, like I said, at F6.
I think because we've all been doing it a while, we've all used books. Write on cards is something that I've used but never got to grips with. So that's why I kept with the book. And now Ref 6 has come along. So we've tried all of the different things. It's one of those things you say, do it, try it, see what works for you as a referee, and then
trials. Does he do like?
No, yeah, you get a month free trial of the pro version.
And I just think this. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Should we refocus on the Euros, because we have gone off on a tangent here? We got the final coming up on Sunday.
Edit this out.
Yeah, we'll drop Hassan an email and say, "Oh, listen, you're gonna have to drop us some cash for sponsorship here because we chatted about your app for too long now."
Yeah, called Ref 7.
Yeah, we'll out-ref him. We got the final coming up. Nath, you came up with an interesting point on how the media has gone with the referee appointment on this one. Tell us about that.
Well, yeah, we've just talked about it in the media and the positivity around referees and some strange comments that's come up. One of the things that I find very strange is the headline writer at the Telegraph and the Daily Mail are both leading with world's richest referee Bjorn Kuipers is appointed to UEFA final. And I don't really understand why they've gone with that. I mean, if Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo scores a hat-trick, there's no world's richest footballer scores a hat-trick headline. It's just Ronaldo or Messi scores a hat-trick. So I don't really understand why that's a headline. Okay, he owns a chain of supermarkets, but that's not going to impact on whether he gets penalty decisions right on Sunday.
Yeah, we're going to have to go to him now and say, look, give us some money for advertising.
Jumbo supermarkets.
But did someone say it was called Jumbo? Did we say earlier it's called Jumbo?
Yeah.
It's Jumbo supermarkets, yeah, in Holland.
Well, listen, there's been many people with money referee. Many people.
Yeah.
The Premier League, many, never seems to be an issue. To me, this is got different levels, this. I was going to say multifaceted, but I don't like that word. Is that when you're rich, it's very hard for you to get corrupted. And what we're all hearing about is referees aren't on enough money. They can get corrupted by these syndicates in the Far East who want to say, we'll give you, a couple of $100,000, make sure it's 1-1. But from that point of view, it's positive that he's minted because no one's ever going to
can't be bribed. Yeah,
can't be bribed. So positive. I'd like to just also say that he's earning that money outside the sport we're on about, whereas Lionel Messi and all them are earning it from inside their own sport. So to me, this could be a subject that's discussed, but on a far more positive stuff. Bjorn Kuipers has probably been one of the world's best referees 5-6 years, I reckon. There's not many better than him.
Well, he's been at the top since the mid-noughties, hasn't he? So, he's been a quality ref for some time.
Yeah,
I think I alluded to it before as well. I think when you're a world-class referee, you need that bit of luck, and you need that bit of luck in respect to the fact that your country's national team is a bit rubbish. Holland are still on the way back.
Yeah, that's dumb to add.
Mate, you're going to get so much hate for that.
I don't mind that, because at the end of the day, I honestly think, and I was talking to my mates about this, right? I honestly think that if you are a professional referee, you've dedicated 4 years or whatever it is, pre-tournament to actually getting into the selection process, and then you get cut, and then you get cut again, and then you're in the final selection. And you've gone through this long process over 2 or 3 seasons to get to this tournament. You are probably, if we're being honest, because this is your career and you want to get to the very pinnacle and do the best games, you are probably hoping that your national team gets knocked out quite early.
It's bittersweet, isn't it?
Final.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone wants their country to do well at a major tournament, except for the referees who want their country to do quite well, but not get to the final because they want to.
Yeah, and I think Anthony Taylor's probably the same with Altrincham in the FA Cup, doesn't he? He doesn't want Altrincham to get to the final of the FA Cup. It's probably exactly the same with that.
I bet he sweats every season. I was like, oh, no.
Newcastle never going to get there either. And actually, Altringham's probably got a better chance of getting to the final than Newcastle. Do you reckon so?
Oh. I know we've got quite a large Geordie Northeast fan base of this podcast, so I'm just going to say that all of our Northeast clubs are fantastic.
Well, not the ones that wear red. I think that you're not just offending me, but you're also offending a friend of the podcast and the last man to referee a European Championship final, Mark Clattenburg.
Well, we don't mention Clattenburg often on this podcast, do we? So it's nice that we hear his name again.
Who?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point, and it's. How long's he been minted? He's done the Champions League final, hasn't he? Hasn't he done? Yeah, he's done a Europa League final twice, hasn't he? Check on that. I think.
I'm not sure about that, but what I will say is he's actually inherited this title from Jonas Eriksson from Sweden.
Yes,
who was the last quote unquote world's richest referee, who I think he's got a similar fortune of sort of tens of millions. But I just don't really understand why that has any relevance even then, because I know that obviously Jonas Eriksson was a FIFA elite referee in the Champions League. I don't think he did any finals, but it's still a story when you've got a Champions League referee.
But he dropped out of refereeing not because of age or anything like that, wasn't it? Because the media, and especially the British media, was on him so much.
Yeah.
For being a rich, wealthy referee and the decisions he'd made against English clubs, that he went, I don't need to do this. I'm just going to step out of it and leave me alone.
I think Andy Daciu had a really, really positive experience when he left, because he ran, I think it was a tarmac company or something for years. Andy Daciu, I think. Rings a bell as well. Well to do. There's been other people. Look at Pete Walton. Pete Walton was involved in Eon, top end of Eon for ages. One of the reasons that Eon sponsored the FA Cup is probably because he had influence on opening doors to do it. Not untoward, obviously, because he's a good guy, Pete Walton. But there's people out there who are successful.
Well, I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs in refereeing, and you look at, obviously, of course, Roger East as well with the timber company. Bloody hell, we'd be racking up the money here with the sponsorship that we're doing.
Say, we're not going to post our podcast until you three give us a few bob.
That's it. We're going to have to beep. This episode is going to be like beep, beep, beep of all these sponsors until they pay us.
Give us the 5 weeks, we can have a pint. Well, down here in Somerset, you
can up here. You can get a couple up here for that.
Yeah. But also, I'd like to say about my friend Richard Mellon. And Lee Roberts were the friends, but Richard's been a close friend for me for a long, long time. And I'm the trustee of Ref Support UK, and they've been appointed to run the referees over in the UAE, based in Dubai. Can't think of a better place to be based to do.
No, beautiful.
What we love, and the journey, Lee's journey, his football journey ended sadly, really, with his injury on that tackle with Steve Sidwell. He tried to recover. He went through an amazing recovery. Got told he couldn't walk at one point. Was all kept quiet. Ends up coming back. His first game was at Watford. Me and Rich went there as his guests and watched him come back. Emotional day, particularly for Lee and his family. But Rich is a wonderful fella. I've always felt blessed to have Rich, as a trustee. He's not front of house. He's been a PGMOL assessor for a long time. He's from a part of the country called Bridgewater, which, isn't exactly the most richest part of the world. It's got its economic challenges, and yet he's always progressed. He was an RDO at Gloucester for a while, got called back by the company he left, who headhunted him back. He's always had an amazing drive, an amazing work ethic, and an amazing want to help other referees no matter where you are. And with Lee particularly, he was with Lee all through his journey until he had to pass him over to the coaches at that level. And that's Rich. People might not know, Rich was best man at Lee Probate's wedding. I was there too, I was one of the ushers. So from my point of view, to see these two get this gig and start a very different journey is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And it's just great he's resigned from every role in football, apart from his trustee role with Ref Support, which was great. We had a conversation about it. And he said, look, I don't want to give up Ref Support. So he was there from the beginning, very valuable to us. And I just think, I hope you two can join me in congratulating two really good guys, really good referees, and most of all, two really good referee educators.
Absolutely. Congratulations to them both. Yeah.
I would like to, yeah. And I would also like to say that, obviously, I've had a number of conversations with Richard in the past, and one of the things that he does, and it's a touch of class really, that probably, well, I don't think I've shared it with you guys, is that periodically when a blog comes through to him from the third team, he'll take the time to respond and say, that's a really good blog, and he'll give me some insight, and he'll share a little bit of knowledge with me and things like that. And so I think it just obviously goes with what you say about wanting to help improve referees, Martin, and he's a really great guy, and of course Lee as well. So much valuable experience that he's had from obviously the Premier League, but also the international list that he was on, and the games that he's done at that very top level as well. So I think that, it's a part of the world where I think I saw in the last week that I think they're having the first female officials there in the Middle East. I'm not sure if it's in the UAE specifically, but obviously, if you understand the sort of the culture of that, and particularly historically of that part of the world, you'll know that it's a huge step for a woman to be allowed to referee a game. And I use the word allowed because of very much the culture that's existed in that part of the world. So I think that it's a really great time for those two guys to be going there with wonderful expertise, and I think we all wish them all the best.
Yeah, definitely. And again, for any like younger budding referees out there, ambitious referees, get yourself on these foreign tournaments, because it was the Easter Open where I met Martin, but Richard Melling was at that same tournament as well. These tournaments are fantastic opportunities to network with people like Martin, like Rich, who are just fantastic to know, pick their brains, get them to watch you, because they will give their time and their energy to literally anyone that wants it. And this is why they're in the position that they are, is because they are just people that will give. And honestly wish them the best out in Dubai. I hope they've got themselves the most beautiful penthouse apartments out there, because I've not been to Dubai much, but when I was there, it blew my socks off. So I'm a little bit jealous that they get to live that life, but they absolutely deserve it, and best of luck to them.
And coming from obviously the southwest of England as well, I hope that they've got plenty of sun cream, because they're going to notice the difference.
This is like me. If the car goes past that night with its main beam on, we go red. If you see, I touched on a bit about Bridgewater. It's about, we just talked about rich referees and blah, blah, blah. Well, Rich Mellon isn't poor by any stretch of the imagination, but it's also just realising that where you come from as an individual doesn't have to define you one way or another. I'm the same. Come up from Liverpool. I was brought and bred on Anfield. All my family live in Anfield. At the time when I left, the reasons that people know about is one of the most deprived areas in Europe. But I didn't let it define me. I used it to push me to try and be better, to try and commit to something. And when you go after something, don't do things by half. Rich is another great example of that. Bridgewater is in a fantastically wealthy area, but he's pushed himself. Always had a good job. Always had time to give. He's a family man, two lovely children. It's these sort of things that get missed in our game that people don't understand. There's an army of people out there. It's one of the reasons ref supporters worked. We've had a coaching scheme for ages, and particularly in the southwest, is massive. We have people going out. No one takes a beam for it. Richard has been pushing that for a long, long time. That evolved out of our time when he was chairman of Bridgewater RA, which no longer exists, and I was chairman of Wrestling Through the Mayor RA, which no longer exists. But we pushed this coaching scheme together where we went abroad to tournaments where we paid. You didn't have to pay a beam. We had sponsors for it. And then what we said, when you're over there, the money you're in over there for match fees goes back into our pot. So we got to get less the following year, or we all get pissed on the last night, I don't know. But it's those sort of things that really, really help keep people in refereeing. It isn't about being in court. It isn't about, making sure your county FA app. It's having some level of support, that they're there at the end of a phone, that they're there maybe to come and watch a match, and they can tell you about building referees' toolboxes and just looking at things in a different manner. Rich is an absolute exceptional way of looking at that.
100%. And on that absolutely beautiful, positive note, we'll end that episode. This one's been sponsored by Ref6, by Jumbo, by the UAE FA, by Roger East. So if any one of those want to throw us any cash, we'll put it back into refereeing. We'll go to Holland with a bunch of young referees and get pissed on the last night. Not that ever happened before. Yeah, don't go on my Facebook and look at all those photos of us absolutely wasted, but it may have happened. Gentlemen, thanks very much for joining me. That's been episode 31, and thank you for watching and listening at home, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.